right, take a look at this word, tact. Now, this is one of these jargon terms that I love because we all know what tact is, right? It's hard to describe, but, we say to someone, oh, well, that was tactless, or, you need to use a little tact when you're asking somebody to do that. Using discretion to effectively say something without being rude, right? Except that when we're talking about autism and when we're talking about building language, totally different meaning. So we have room to be confused, right? But our jargon for the day is tact. So what are we talking about? Actual definition, a tact is a verbal operant evoked by nonverbal discriminative stimulus and followed by generalized conditioned reinforcement. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner. Is this not the worst definition you've ever come across? It's my favorite because, hello, what on earth does that mean? What we just read. And if you were trying to figure out if a speech professional had said to you, well, we're trying to teach your child to tact, and you said, I'm sorry, I don't know what that means, and this is what they said, would you or would you not want to throw a hissy fit? I would go, I'm sorry, once again in English. So let's move on to our working definition and see if we can't begin to make sense of this. Tacting is spontaneously labeling or commenting about things that the child or individual comes into contact with for the purpose of communication. All right, so let's see if we can't make this a little clearer, and don't get overwhelmed. I know we used the word verbal operants a few seconds ago, and in just a few minutes, we are gonna have an expert. Dr. Adele Nadowski is gonna come in and she's gonna explain to us what verbal operants are and go through all of the verbal operants for us. And I promise you, your head is not gonna wanna explode, but it is going to expand your head till you go, oh, that's what they're teaching my child, and that's why they're teaching it. So back to tact. Remember on Tuesday when we had the term manned, and the way I always remember manned is that it's part of the word command. When somebody wants something, they man. They're trying to command to get a cookie, right? So that helps me to remember man. And for tact, I always think of contact. It's as though the child is contacting something in their environment and there is some sort of utterance that goes with that. Years ago, when I had my big old pregnant belly and my husband and I were driving through a parking lot, they had set up a furniture sale in the middle of the parking lot from the furniture store, and they had all these balloons everywhere. And my belly kicked, and I had this lovely little moment, and I turned to my husband and I said, this time next year or somewhere down the line, we're going to be riding in the car, and that's going to be there, and there's going to be somebody in the back seat who's going to go, balloon. And what I didn't know is that I was referring to a child tacting. That for a child to see something new in their environment and to address it, and it's different than a label, right? It's different than saying, what is this? It's a balloon, right? When a child sees something that's in the environment and they go, dog, right? They're contacting it, but they're kind of creating a triangle because it's not happening in a vacuum. They're saying dog as if to say to us, did you see the dog? Look at the dog with me. And then you both look at the dog and create that triangle of joint attention. The thing is that our kids with autism don't usually do that. Some do, but a lot of them have a great deal of trouble with the concept of tacting because it seems useless to them. They're not doing a lot of joint attention, and this is a really important phase towards getting to full language and conversation. They have to be interested in our reaction, though, which is why they say balloons or dog or giraffe or cloud, right? They're contacting the environment, and it's part of the really beginnings of a conversation. That one little word or the two little words that they're using are really meant to be shared. And that's the important distinction between labeling and tacting. Tacting, they're contacting the environment, but trying to include somebody else into it. Does that make sense? It's a really important step towards building towards conversation. Now, stop and think. Does my child tact? Are they doing that? And then you think, well, how do I teach that? Okay, that's where it gets complicated. But again, we have an expert to talk about that in just a little while. But tact, really important stepping stone along the way. And when we as parents understand what it is that the experts are trying to get our child to do, we're more effective in getting on board. But trust me, tacting, super duper important. And when you see your child do it spontaneously with no prompting, oh my gosh, it's a party.